another day, another kōrero, another day, another conversation. All right, we're just going to dive straight into it. Part 2 of the Mamas series. In the first episode, I kind of jumped into a little bit about how I found out I was hapu, how I told the parents. I touched on a little bit of my experiences, but that was about it. So the next 5 episodes, we're going to dive in a little bit more deeper. And today's conversation is actually inspired by my therapy session today. So if you don't know, I'm in therapy. I've got a sensitive claims going through right now, but that's probably another day, another episode. Today in therapy, we went over this thing called bouquet and brickbag. So essentially, it's like the adversities or the challenges in life, and then like the glimmers, right? The bouquets, the really beautiful things. And we dove on deeper in the years between 15 and 19 or 15 and 20 of my life. And obviously, those years were the first years of me being a mum. So I thought it was only fitting to have more of a deeper conversation around that today, right? Challenges and adversities that I faced. I touched on that a little bit in the previous episode, as well as the bouquets, right? The real beautiful things that also happened. Because I actually haven't sat with that in like so much depth, like ever. A lot of my memories back in those days were like, yep, raised my kids and I was doing some pretty cool things, but a lot of the memories were the shit things, yeah, where a lot of trauma, I went for a lot of trauma in those years, in my very early years, even before I was 15. So a lot of those did tend to take up a lot of my mind's capacity, and seeing the good things was quite hard. So being able to do that exercise today, amazing. But anyways, let's jump into it. Let's jump into the conversations of my mum life, my early mum life between 15 and 19, 20. So I really want to start with actually, I don't know where I'm going to start. I might fluctuate through things. We might not be having a linear timeline here. I might jump from here and there and everywhere. But welcome to my world and welcome to my brain. That's kind of how I decipher things. Maybe one day I'll get better at being able to linearly, being able to talk about things more linear. But alas, so 15 was when I found out I was hapu. But 15 was also the age where I was in this really young relationship, right? And yes, me and my boyfriend at the time, my elder kid's dad, our relationship was very turbulent. Our relationship was really fucking rocky. Our relationship consisted of a lot of police call outs, a lot of arguments, a lot of physical fights as well, a lot of screaming, a lot of yelling, a lot of breaking shit. Sorry, mum's house, and she still lives there. There's holes in the walls, windows broken. Like, it was pure chaos. That's just how it was. And that was my experience, one of my first experiences of a relationship. Now, even before that, I didn't even really know what a relationship looked like anyway. Right? I was brought up with my mum and she was a single mum, and the relationships I did see her in kind of looks like that, right? So my dad was around. My dad was still around, but their friendship looked very different. And again, I only ever really saw them as friends. I never seen them in a relationship. So what I did see was mum in these chaotic, turbulent relationships, and she was quite a firecracker, and she was yelling, screaming. I remember one time I'm laughing now, but it's not funny, but maybe it is a little bit. But I remember one time seeing my mum. She was so mad at her then boyfriend that she had like a bat, and she was ready to whack this guy. And so that's what I saw. Okay, that's what I saw. What relationships look like. So obviously that's what I took into my relationship, because monkey see, monkey do, right? That was the life that I. That was the life that I saw. That was what relationships looked like. Even people in my sphere that were like, the people in my sphere, a lot of the time, a lot of their relationships look like that too. So it was normal, for lack of better words. And so I ended up in this relationship where those kinds of relationships were normal for him too, right? they were very normal for him too. And my therapist asked me today, she's like, so how did you get out of that? And I was like, to be honest, he went to jail. And like, he didn't go to jail for our take, he went to jail for other things. But that time that both of us had apart, and like, I guess I'm only speaking for myself, but it was the time that we really needed to recalibrate both of our situations, right? Because us together, shocking, terrible. Us apart was kind of okay. I won't dive into our relationship much further after that today, but that's what it was. Chaos, turbulent. We were young. We were, don't want to say dumb because but we were young. We were young and we didn't know any better. Like, period. We didn't know any better. We were super used to those things, right? And so him and I, though, there's a lot of verbal abuse, physical abuse, just all sorts, right? And it is what it is. Like, I'm looking back in hindsight now. At the time, God, I was furious and I was so upset and I was in my feels and I was pregnant and there was so much in my mind going on, right? I'm obviously now looking at those experiences as a 30-year-old. So I'm seeing things a whole lot differently and I'm seeing the lessons and the learnings I got. But holy macaroni, it was hard. Anyways, so that was that. That was our relationship. And then obviously I did end up getting hapu again with my daughter, and I had her when I was 17. And I touched on in the first episode a little bit about the discrimination that I faced at a certain place that helps people financially here in New Zealand. And I'm not going to dive into that so much, but I want to talk about how much discrimination and judgment and racism really impacted me internally, right? How it really, all those comments that I received, all the looks that I got, like it all stuck with me. And I always felt like I had to fucking prove myself. Like I always felt like I had to do more and be more and be busy and productive and have all this output and show that I'm a great mom and show that I'm going to finish school and show that I'm not going to go to uni, even though I just really wanted to be a teenager and just like be a mum, and I did want to go back to school and I did want to do those things, but also on the flip, it felt like I had to. It felt like I wasn't allowed to just be a mum for a little while. It felt like I had to prove myself, because if I didn't, I was so scared to like lose my kids. I was so scared to lose my kids to the system. I was so scared to lose myself. I was so scared to even fall back into the life that I had lived in previously to moving into our own home. And there were so many times I just wanted to give up. Like, I was so young, but there were so many times I just wanted to give up and stop doing all those things. But that was just like, that was the easy way out. And I say that for lack of better words, because I could have easily fallen back into a lot of those patterns that I had learned, right? And I didn't. And that actually takes so much effing strength. And I spoke about and I touched on the addictions, right? So I did use alcohol a lot of the time, though, to numb a lot of the trauma and experiences that I went through as a young person, like I did. I drank almost every single day. I was, yes, even when I was a mum, right? I drank every single day. I drank every single day almost. I was like living for the weekend. I would always try and get babysitters so that I could party and go out and still be young. And to be quite honest, I was quite fortunate because I did have people that helped me and allowed me to still be a teenager as well as be a mum, right? I actually did have people who were like, yes, we'll watch your babies, you go do you, we got them. Like, how, what? Like, how crazy is that? You know, so I wouldn't find a babysitter all the time, and I wasn't the best mum all the time. Well, I was a great mum, but some of the decisions that I made were probably not the greatest at the time, because I would still try and do anything to make sure I had my drink, even if it just meant I was drinking at home, right? I would make those things happen. Drinking took over my life. I associated drinking with being social. I associated drinking with relaxing. But also with the drinking came smoking cigarettes and vapes. So I was doing that too. And it was such an easy way for me to numb the pain so I could just carry on with everything else that I was doing. Because I wasn't taught how to feel. I wasn't taught how to feel sad or feel angry or feel grief or feel, I wasn't taught how to feel those things. And it was very uncomfortable for me to be feeling those things. So I just drank to numb it all for a quick fix relief. But I wasn't actually looking at those parts of me that really needed healing. Not until I got older, into my 20s anyway, when I quit drinking. But that's what I did. Like, I did that. And I owned that. And I have always owned that. Because younger me just didn't know any better. Younger me didn't know any better. And she used alcohol as a way to survive. Because dealing with all the other trauma and hurt that happened before was way too fucking hard for her, okay? She was struggling to even just be a mum, let alone deal with all the other bullshit that came with it, right? Or that came with life before that, as well as between 15 and 20. So much more shit, chaotic stuff happened. But the thing that kept me going was these two little humans that I had brought into the world. Always don't cry when I talk about them. But it's true. Those were those two little humans that I brought into the world were the reasons why I kept going. Were the reasons why I decided to finish school. Were the reasons why I moved out of that environment and into our own home. They were the reason, right? They were the reason why I kept going. They were, like, obviously it was for myself too, but those two little humans at the time, they gave me so much purpose and they gave me so much joy, and they showed me what unconditional love was. And this is why if you're all over my social media, I praised him all the freaking time. So if you're all over my social media, you will see that I'm always praising them. I'm always so grateful for them. I'm always so proud. I'm always so grateful and so thankful for them, because having those two little humans set me on my ass and got me back on course. But amongst all the chaos that we went through, there was also glimmers, okay? There was also some really amazing times. There was also so many wins and so many accomplishments that I went through as a young mom. So in the previous episode, I actually vaguely talked about Whakatapuria teen parent unit. So I ended up starting there when I was 16, and I only had my son at the time. But it was such a foundation for me to be able to have the privilege to go to that school. The teachers there were super supportive, and I was able to, finish school, and I got NCA level 1, NCA level 2, NCA level 3, university entrance, and just to top it off, cherry on top, so Whakatapuria teen parent unit is part of Freiburg High School here in Palmerston. So essentially it's one school, right? In my year that I did my NCA level 3, I was actually one of the top students and how many credits that we got for the year. Now, I don't remember how many credits I got, but I remember being so happy because it was in like the school newsletter, so they like had my name there. Me and another wahine who was done at the teen parent unit, both of us got the highest amount of credits for level 3, whilst being at that kura, and it just felt like such an accomplishment because I also had 2 kids on my hips, right, and doing this. And being at school and raising two babies amongst going through all the turbulence, all the adversity, like that just felt like such a massive accomplishment. And my eldest, my son, he was actually quite a handy asthmatic child as well. So we actually lived at the hospital quite a lot of the time because he just wasn't able to breathe a lot. He would get bronchiolitis quite often. And so we were at the hospital quite often. So I would have weeks, if not months, off school to be able to look after my baby. And I was still able to finish my schooling. I mean, my attendance was pretty shit, but I still managed to do my schooling and get all my assignments in and sit exams when I needed to because that was a priority for me, right? I wanted to finish school and I wanted to. So I made that happen even though I had two kids on my hips. And like being at Whakatapuria, we were also able to go to like the school ball and I just remember this so clearly and I was happy with my daughter at one of them. Always like the teen parent unit would always have people to come and support and come and help and they'd get like dresses donated or people would bring in all these things so that we could all try clothes on and get ready and get pampered. And one of those times we actually all hired a Hummer limousine and oh my god, it was like so much fun. And I've actually made a lot of lifelong friends from that school that I still talk to. And I just love looking back at the memories when we were at that kura and the daycare next to it were just as supportive for me and my kids as well. And honestly, just being celebrated in that way. What? Some more tears? Oh, but straight up. Just to be celebrated and acknowledged during those times. During those times was so rewarding and another reason why I just wanted to keep going. Right? Because I had these people in my corner, these friends, these teachers in my corner, celebrating my milestones with me and really encouraging me to be my best self, right? Like, not gonna lie, these teachers knew that I was known as the party girl as well, but they were also on the flip, just as happy that I was still showing up to school and getting my work done. And I actually had such a love for art throughout my whole teenage years. Like, even before I became a mum. Art was what I did all through high school, and it was one of my favorite subjects. And I actually got a lot of merits and excellences in my art realm when I was at high school too, because we had to do like a portfolio, right? And I would express by being creative and doing and sharing my journey and sharing my story with the art. Hopefully, I can find some of that so that I can show you on here. And even if not on here, maybe on social media somewhere. But I used it as a way to share my story how I best could back then, right? And it's kind of inspired me to get back on that creative journey because when I was picking what to do after high school, it was actually either multi-visual arts or social work, and obviously I took the social work route, but it doesn't mean I can't go back and do multi-visual arts or any kind of arts. So that came up in therapy today and reminded me just how much I love being in my creative flow and all the things. But anyway, it's back to when I was a teenager and back at Whakatapuria. There was just so many freaking options there. We even did things like barista and first aid, a lot of parenting courses. Like they truly set us up there. Truly. There was even it even got to a point where my still now friend Fee, she was doing her master's back then. Obviously, I was a lot younger, and it was the first time I met her. Now, I can't remember exactly what the research was around, and I have a feeling it was around like smoking in teenage years, or I can't fully remember, but I was part of that as part of her master's thesis. I was, I guess, brave enough and courageous enough back then to be like, yeah, sure, I'll do this interview with you. It was actually quite cool because I still got like a gift card for my time and my mātauranga. I look back now and that's how I can see it. But back then I'm like, yeah, free money. Yeah, absolutely. Like give that to me, which I'm still kind of the same with Kai. But anyways, I did this research with V and we stayed in contact. And over those years, yep, through my young teenage years, but maybe even into my early adulthood, because of that research and how well her research went, me and the same wahine from before, we ended up having an opportunity to go with her and travel and speak on our journeys as a young parent. And I remember going to this, I think it was Manarereki parenting conference. I don't actually know if that's still a thing. We went to that. And I remember sharing my story, and I remember crying. Like the first thing that I did was cry, because it was like the first time was first of all speaking in front of so many different people, but it was also the first time I was speaking publicly like this about my journey as a parent. And I remember telling them all my hardships and telling them even like how much I got on a benefit and stuff at that time, and they were all like like taken back. And I also remember afterward I had these beautiful Pakiki come out, all these beautiful adults at the time. It sounds weird saying that because I'm an adult right now, but they like come up to me and they were giving me hugs and giving me money, and I was like, I didn't know what to do with it. She's like, just take it, and I was like, thank you, thank you. That was one of my first experiences talking about my journey as a young mum, and I was a young mum at that time. There was all these beautiful things that I kind of forgot about, that I kind of forgot happened, that helped me on my journey to obviously where I am today, right? A lot of those things that I went through were all these stepping stones to now look, I'm sharing my story publicly. And now, because I get to do that, I get to share so frequently now because young Gail made that bold, courageous decision to be like, yeah, I am going to share my story. I'm now doing things like this. I have spoken on stage many times now, and I have run workshops, and I have shared my story on social media for the last few years now. And those steps that Gail took, that little Gail took, were the foundation to where I am today. So that whole chapter of me between 15 to 20, it showed me how much resilience I had. It showed me how much courage I had, how much capability I had. It showed me that how resourceful I was, because even on the weeks where I was flat broke, I would make shit work, right? Like the conversations that we're having today, again, they're not as in depth. Like I could talk so much more about this, and I will, and I will. This is just the beginning. But that pocket between 15 and 20 years old, super integral to how I show up today. Like I still hold a lot of those same values. I still use every single lesson that I got back then in my life today, and how I share and show up and even support and tautoko people in my whānau, in my community, with my private clients, with just whomever. It all shows up. It's like it's the map, right? It's the blueprint. Because I went through all of this at such a young freaking age. I now have the blueprint, right? I'm like, yeah, now I know what to do. Let me help you solve your thing and get through your things faster, please. All right. This is exactly why I love doing my mahi and the life coaching that I do, and sharing so much online and sharing on this podcast, because I have gone through it, right? I have been deep in it. And I have still managed to find a way to keep going and to push through no matter what. I want to share, before I close this up, I'm going to share this post that my beautiful coach, this beautiful wahine Anna, shared with the world the other day. I wasn't ready for it, by the way, but I just feel like everything she wrote just it resonated, and I started crying. And I was actually practicing recording when I got the notification, and I read it and I just started crying. So I just got a video of me crying. But anyways, this is what Anna said, and I'm so grateful for her. When Gail and I recently aligned again in each other's worlds, everything started to make sense. The journey this woman has been on, what she's conquered, what she's moved through, has shaped her into the living embodiment of strength, grace, and divine purpose. The stories she now carries are the ones she's embodied, the honor to share. My client Gail isn't just another woman trying hard to make it, forcing or constantly hustling her way through life. She's not someone to feel sorry for, and she's not here for a pity party. This woman isn't in survival mode or crying out to be rescued. This woman is the embodiment of empowerment. She is the gift that reminds us what moving through shame, fear, guilt, and condemnation truly looks like. Gail has endured battles that many will never know the depth of, from being a teen mum and raising three kids on her own to facing addiction and abuse. Yet, with every challenge, she has chosen to rise. That rise from the rubble kind of moment over and over again. And when you think she's been shaken and thrown about enough, there's no way she could possibly rise again. She emerges with even more mana, strength, and grace than before. Gail was here to break generational cycles of abuse, of poverty, of disempowerment, of neglect, and to transform them into abundance, prosperity, healing, growth, and freedom. It's been such an honor to walk beside this woman, to see life through her lens, to understand her mission, to hold her through the unfolding of her purpose. This is a powerful, self-led woman, a woman with a fire in her belly, one she has learned to transmute from destruction into creation. Now that same fire builds her up and ignites the light in others too. What a blessing it is to be in the presence of a woman like this. I just really wanted to share that because it moved me so much. And that also, that post, like it all came at the right time, right? She posted that yesterday. I had therapy today. Everything was like light bulbing moment and weaving and making sense. And I was just like, oh my gosh. Sometimes I don't give myself enough credit, well, younger me, enough credit to the life that we have created today. So even if you're on the same similar wuckers, if you're going through some shit, no matter if you're a teen mum or a mum, and maybe you're not even a mum watching this is my reminder to you too, that you get to decide how you show up next, right? Because if you want something bad enough, trust me when I say you will make it happen, even when it's hard. And I say when it's hard, not if, because things are hard, right? Especially changing or breaking these intergenerational cycles that have been passed down to us, right? It is hard because trust, if it was easy, everybody would do it. Simple, yes. Easy, no. And there's a difference between both of them. But I'm going to love and leave this conversation here before I cry some more. Didn't see that coming. Yeah, part three is already out because I'm putting all of these out at the same time. But I hope that something in this has landed or ignited something in you. Again, if you want to continue with these conversations, please come and follow along for this ride, or subscribe or like, or wherever you're watching or listening to this. Just stay tuned because more of these conversations are going to come out. A lot more about the pains that I went through and the pivots and then the present, right? How we even got here I tēnei rā today. But that being said, ngā mihi nui kia koutou. I have enjoyed holding this space with you all, and I will catch up with you all again very soon. Oh, and again, if you think someone else might get something from this, please also pass it on to them. I want to get the word out. Okay, I just want to get these conversations out. I want to get the word out. I want people to know that they're not alone. I want people to know that people are here for them, right? The support is here. The mother is here. The mother's actually within you, but let's get the word out. Okay, time to go now. I'm gonna ramble and ramble and ramble. Love you lots, and we'll catch up soon. Ka kite.